Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Amy Howard, and welcome to Finish Friday. I want to tell you, I know y'all are like, okay, you're excited every Friday. I'm really excited today because this is my wheelhouse. So a lot of you, if you don't know, and maybe if you're watching me on YouTube, or maybe you're just a regular Finish Friday watcher, I have been immersed in painted finishes for over 30 years. And so being a furniture manufacturer, a designer, and the person that created the finishes that went on our furniture, to be able to have this, to develop these finishes and turn around and teach you is something that brings me great joy. So one thing that I love as being a teacher is I love you being able to take what I am teaching you and turn around and put it into your own finishes, your own rescuing and restoring and redecorating furniture. So if you are not part of our before and after group, please join it. It's an Amy Howard Home before and after group because it's just this incredibly creative group of people that are just getting started. Maybe it's part of their furniture flipping business, but we just really are very supportive. We love watching them take pieces and transform them using the Amy Howard at Home product. So hopefully you'll join part of our family there. And also, if you're tuning in, please share the love. Let me know where you're from. Send me some hearts. The algorithms of Facebook. We want to be able to make sure more and more people know who we are and why we are doing this. Most people, be quite honest with you, that own companies and develop products do not take the time out to teach people. And it's important for me to do this because I want your success. That's what makes me feel validated as a teacher. But the other thing is the products that I'm showing you today are probably not going to be in all the retail outlets. While we have thousands of retail outlets, and we're not in all Ace Hardware stores, but we're in some boutiques, you can get most all these products on our website. And today is going to be a little bit unusual because I'm going to be going into pigment powders and some micas. Because a lot of you that are learning how to do furniture, you're being bombarded with all these different paints out there that are chalk paints, acrylic paints, mineral paints, and there's really not somebody that's teaching you what the difference is. And I'm just going to tell you, there are some wonderful products out there, but I want you to understand kind of the differences with it. And one of them is a lot of the companies that are calling their paints mineral paints, they are kind of a glorified acrylic-based paint. Acrylic paint in itself it's plastics. It's what was invented in the 40s to be able to go on surfaces that would not scratch and that were more durable. If you want a fine furniture finish, if you want to be able to get a finish on your piece, whether it's a corbel or whether it's a nightstand or a chest or whatever that you're doing, or maybe your kitchen cabinets, you've got to be able to use processes that have been around for a long time that are layering and using the products that will allow you to get a beautiful, true cabinet finish. And that's what I'm going to be showing you today. So a lot of people, when I talk about this, and this is really important, not that I'm saying that you have to use all my products for everything, but I'm just going to tell you there is a difference. And the fact that my one-step paint is a calcium carbonate based paint. It is not an acrylic based paint. It has calcium carbonate in it, which is chalk. And it also has products in it that allows it to adhere to almost any surface without sanding, stripping, priming, or anything. And you do not have to seal it. So you're able to come in and you're able to play with it and create all these different looks and glazes and things and not worrying about it coming off. But you can do the layering so you get these incredible depths of finishes. And let me show you why I want to be able to show you today why I'm so jazzed. I want you to look at this. I'm going to get this in the light and I'm going to turn it. I want you to be able to see the finish. Look at that, guys. Look at the depth of it. Finishes sell furniture. Finishes get people jazzed about things. They want to buy them. A great finish is something that you cannot tell the tools that were used. It does not look offensive. There is an oval eye track to it. It's not necessarily that it's worn through with sandpaper. You can get a beautiful worn looking finish that has some age to it and patina without any sandpaper at all. And that's what I want to be able to show you. Here's another one that I did just a little bit earlier that I added some gold mica powders to if you want a little bit of that shimmer. A lot of people want shimmer, and that's okay. But this has no mica on it, and I want you to look how gorgeous, how beautiful that is. I am fortunate enough to live in an old home that has copper gutters. This is what my copper gutters look like. They're just that gorgeous, dead, bronzy verdigris finish, and this is what I'm going to show you how to do today. The other thing is that I want to be able to show you, same technique, same process that we're going to do today. Look at this. This was a base of a cracked patina finish. I'm not going to go over cracked patina today, but if you can go back and watch one of my other YouTube videos that I'll show you cracked patina, and then I painted on top of it and then did the pigment powders. So I'm going to show you though in just a minute, so I'll show you, but it shows a little bit different as far as the look. This one's more textured, this one is more smooth, and this one looks like verdigris. And then this was just kind of fun, taking a Bauhaus Buff base and using the pigment powder of Capri Sand over it, how you can just get these gorgeous colors. You can mix pigments too to create any color you want. But I am telling you guys, this today, what I'm going to be going over with you is going to raise your level of connoisseurship to a totally new level. The other thing is, and something that I would love for you to do, and y'all started doing it, so thank you, but when you join the before and after group, share pictures with me of finishes that you want to know how to do. That's what's going to act as an impetus for me to put this together, develop the finish, and then turn around and teach you how to do it. And then these will be uploaded onto YouTube for you to be able to refer back to. The other great benefit of me teaching you today, this is 12 o'clock Central Standard Time, and we are taking live questions. So I have someone here on Facebook and on Instagram. Please ask me questions. There are no dumb questions. This is an opportunity for you to truly learn how to be able to do something. That's why I'm not doing this to hear my self-talk. I want to be able to help you to really up your game in your finishes. Are we good? Okay. All right, so I'm going to set these aside. Now, the first thing, in order to get this finish, one thing that you're going to notice when you're doing any type of finishes like this, there's a lot of depth here. You can't necessarily see the depth, but the only way you can get a depth to a finish is by layering. So the first thing we're going to do is this is my raw piece. You can start on anything. You can take an existing piece of furniture, you can take a corbel, you can take a finial, you can take a lamp, but this finish is going to show up on something a little bit more carved, a little bit more detailed, not heavily carved like this, but the ability to be able to have that pigment down into the areas like that that's carved is going to make it look a little bit more. So now I'm working on raw trim here. This could very well be an ugly Mediterranean piece of furniture, and I could be painting directly on top of it. It's not a problem. All right, so you do want to make sure if this is an existing finish, what do we always do? We paint it. We clean it with the clean slate. The clean slate is formulated to get wax off, and just a regular simple green is not going to take wax off. So I really recommend you using the clean slate. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to paint it. So this is with the black one-step paint. Remember, it's called one step, but it necessarily doesn't mean one coat. So depending on your piece and the color that you choose, you may have to do 2 coats. But on this black, you can usually get it done with one coat. This would be a fantastic finish on some sconces. You can use the one-step paint on brass. You can use it on ceramic. You can use it on glass. You can use it on iron. So it's a great, great finish to do on some ugly lamps. I joke about going to Habitat. There's a big ugly lamp section, so you can get a ton of those. But this piece would also be dynamite on a piece of furniture too. All right, so we painted our piece with the black one-step. We're going to allow it to dry. Remember, a quart of our one-step paint is going to cover about 135 square feet. So it's ample enough to be able to paint a large piece of furniture. This would actually be a great finish, what I'm talking about. This would be a great finish even on a kitchen island. It's very durable. So here's what it starts with first. So we've started with the black one-step. You can hit this with a hairdryer, allow it to dry. It's going to take about 30 minutes. This is a water-based paint. It has no VOCs, and it's going to dry down to this beautiful matte finish. Now, here's the other thing, guys. If you're working with a matte finish, it's going to allow you to be able to work with the pigments. You cannot get this kind of finish working with something with a sheen. You do not need to work with paints. If you want to be able to create fine furniture, cabinetry type finishes, you've got to work with a matte finish. That's part of the reason for the calcium carbonate. The fact that a lot of people go into those acrylic based paints, you'll never get the quality that you're going to want to get and the patina from it, because when you're working with a matte finish like this, it will literally bond and go down into the pigment of the one-step paint. So that's why it's really, really important to do that. All right, so the next step we're going to do is I'm going to take some of my brown paint here. This is Windsor. And I'm going to take a natural seawool sponge. You want to make sure that you put it back in water to make it where it's soft. I usually cut these up. You can tell I've had these in the studio. I use these an awful lot. And I'm just going to load this up here. Realize I didn't bring any cardboard over here, so I need to offload it. I'm going to offload on the back of my sample just a little bit, make sure it gets evenly. And work with the side of the sponge. Don't work with the tight side. I want you to work with the loose side. And I cut these up. These will last you forever if you take good care of them. Now look at this. I'm using the paint straight. You don't have to thin it. But look how I'm leaving some negative space. I want to be able to come back like this, have some of that black showing, and have some of the brown on top. That's going to dry very, very quickly, about 20 minutes. And then I'm going to have this. It's going to dry down where it looks like this. Okay, is everybody with me? Now, remember guys, if you're catching us live, I have two people here that love asking me questions. So please ask me questions that we can help you. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the light antique wax. I'm going to answer a question because I don't want you to think I'm pushing the product as much as it is that I take this as an opportunity to make sure you understand why and the differences in them. So Facebook, if you can look at me. Thank you. Sorry, I get bossy when I'm teaching, but that's the teacher in me. Okay, so there's a difference between these two products. This is a natural beeswax. It's in a liquid form. A lot of people, they like it because it's squeezable. It's easy to put onto a rag, especially if you want to have a wax finish on your kitchen cabinets. Remember, you don't have to wax the one-step paint. It's not necessary. You don't have to seal it. The only reason you wax it is because of the patina. It gives it a beautiful patina, and you can buff it, and it looks like a more natural cabinet finish. Because the Italians, most of you know that I worked in a bodega in Florence, Italy, and the Italians love being able to have that natural, milky finish with wax on top of it, and nothing looks any better to me than is on a fine antique like that. So that's why I use these waxes. But this light antique wax has two very important things in it. Look at the color of it. So part of the reason why it has this color is because it has natural beeswax in it. The other thing it has carnauba. Carnauba is a very hard wax. The longer it cures, the harder it gets. Carnauba wax is used on bowling alleys. And so the ability to be able to put this wax on a piece of furniture, the longer it dries, the longer it cures, the harder it gets, and the more hardy it is. So we also use it to be able to act as a groundwork for our pigments. So now that I've put that brown on top of the black, I'm going to come back. This is my hog hair brush, and I'm going to load it up. Yes?
Amy, we have a question on the sponge process.
Okay.
Is the sponge really to keep paint from going down into the crevices of the carving?
Right, ask that question again.
She says, is the sponge really to keep the paint from going down into the crevices of the carving?
No. The reason for that is to look how it's kind of reticulated in a sense that it's if I had used a solid sponge, I would have blobs. By using that natural seawool sponge, it's got those open fissures kind of in it, so it gives me just kind of a natural gradated look like that. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
Okay. All right, so now I've forgot my cardboard. I'm going to offload this just a little bit. You never want to go from the container over here. So now I'm coming back and I'm applying my wax everywhere, but look how I'm going to do it. I always kind of do it in a cross hatching, and that way it's everywhere. Now that's pretty ugly. This is not our final thing. Let me grab something really quickly to be able to fan that. So look at that finish. Let everybody know that's what we're working on. And I'm going to get this to be able to fan it. because here's another key thing, guys. This is really, really important. You cannot put your pigment on right after you do your wax. I'm going to repeat that. You cannot put the pigment on until this wax comes to tack. This is where a lot of people make a mistake, in the fact that whether they're coming back and they're adding Dust of Ages, or pigments or micas or whatever, they are putting it on when the wax is still wet, when the wax is still greasy, when the wax is still moving around. Allow the wax to come to tack, T-A-C-K. Tack meaning it's going to have cooled down. It's not going to be as greasy anymore. And you're going to have to wait just a little bit longer. Like if it's hot, it is so hot. We're in Memphis, Tennessee, and the humidity is tough today. You're going to have to make sure that it cools down and it comes to tack a little bit, because that way you want to make sure that it doesn't completely dry, but you want to be able to let it sit on here for about 10 or 15 minutes. Here's the other thing. If I had 5 people here and I handed them all a hog hair brush and I handed them this puck of light antique wax, they would all 5 put it on differently. Some would put it on lighter, some would put it on too much. You've got to make sure that you learn the consistency on how you're going to put the wax on, because you want to make sure that your tack comes to the right tack at the right time. So I want to feel this. It's not greasy, it's not moving around, but I've still got it to where it's not completely dry. You cannot do this right if you allow this to completely dry. So when I'm working on a piece of furniture, I'll work on the top, or I'll work on the front of the drawer, I'll work on the side. I've got to stay with it to this point. I can't do the entire piece because I actually may lose my tack and the wax will be completely dry. So about 15 or 20 minutes and you're still golden. All right, so now here's the next thing we're going to do. I'm going to be taking the Lure Earth. This is a pigment. Guys, my pigments they are not synthetic. They're natural, organic pigments that come from Provence. And these come from specific quarries. And you cannot get the look that we're creating today unless you have natural pigments like this. All right, so now I'm going to dip my brush down into the pigment and I'm going to offload it just a little, just so tap the side. I got quite a bit in there. This is when you're going to work with a chip brush. Don't use a synthetic. You need a natural chip brush. These are great for waxes. They're great for pigments, okay? All right, so now I'm going to come back. My wax has gotten to tack, and I'm going to go over all of it. Look at that. It looks like rust already, doesn't it? You can create a rust finish this way too. A lot of you like rust finishes. So if you want to do this on an urn, again, it looks great on decorative objects. But again, guys, this is the finish that we're going for. This is just a gorgeous, gorgeous bronzy verdigris color that could look good on so many things. Look how far that pigment, that little bit of pigment has gone that I'm putting on top of this. Now here's the other thing. This is why it's important. You cannot work with just acrylic-based paints or a lot of these minerally type paints that are on the market, because they don't have a matte finish that allows you to be able to do this. I want you to grind this down in here. That is literally getting it down into the body of the wax and the paint, and it's going to give me a gorgeous patina later. Guys, if you're ask me questions, here's the opportunity. If you have questions and you want to be able to do this, this is an incredible finish. Yes.
What was the pigment color?
So this pigment color is Lure Earth. Can you see in there really good? It's yummy. It's kind of a red clay color. I just love it. I think it's beautiful. Go back, if you're popping on, go back and watch the beginning so that way you can see the whole process of what we've done. Now I'm going to come back with this gorgeous, gorgeous blue-green pigment. And I'm going to take a separate brush and I'm going to dip down in here. I didn't buff this, I didn't do anything to it, and I'm going to come directly on top of it. Now, you know me, this is why I have to go get my nails done, because I love working with my fingers. when I do furniture. That's why when I go in to get my nails done, I think they all run. They're like, oh no, Amy's here. Who's gonna have to clean up her nails? And then they'll ask me, have you been painting? I'm like, yes, of course I've been painting. That's what I do. Yes.
There's a question, does it take longer for the natural beeswax to dry?
Meaning this one? If you're talking about...
She said, then the light antiquing wax. So I'm assuming the beeswax over light antiquing.
Yes. When I'm doing this, when I'm working with pigments, I like working with the pucks. It's like, these are great. This is a great wax. I love mixing this with pigments. You can mix pigments with this wax and make your own colored waxes. Gosh, I mean, how great is that? That's like amazing. You can take Bauhaus Buff, which is our #1 best-selling color. You could take Bauhaus Buff or linen, and you can mix up 20 bazillion different waxes with this and colors and put on top of that, and all of them look different. It's pretty incredible. But let's get back to this. So that way, I did my Lure Earth first. I didn't buff it. I didn't do anything. I've come back with my blue-green pigment. And now, look at this. I'm just going to take, oh my gosh, this is why I love this. Guys, look at this. I am pressing this down I'm burnishing it into this finish. Are you loving it? Send me some love. Say, Amy, we're in love. We're with you. Look at this.
Hearts flying on Instagram, Amy.
Gosh, Facebook, show me some love. All right. Jean's saying, Amy, they're not showing you the love.
There they come.
Here it comes.
Okay. All right.
Instagram's loving you more.
Okay.
Don't make up for Facebook.
Gosh, come on, Facebook.
Look at this. Guys, do you not get excited? Look, are you seeing the transformation of what's happening? We've gone from black to adding our brown to coming back, doing the Lure Earth, and now we're adding this pigment on top. Guys, do you know there are people that do finishes that charge $1 bazillion? They would never show you how to do this. And if they showed you how, they're going to charge you hundreds of dollars to be able to do a finish like this. This finish is a game changer. Okay, now wait, let's get close. Let's look at this. Let's get in some good light. Now, I want to make sure that I burnish that in there really good. I can do it press it down in there with my brush. I could do it a little bit with my fingers. I got to get my fingers dirty. No job is complete. No furniture is complete without my fingers being dirty. And then look at that. Come back and buff that. Don't buff all of it off. Oh my gosh, look at that. Is that not incredible? Look at that. Look at the patina that's starting to come. See the sheen? That's from your wax. Don't buff it all off. This is why this looks so good, like on a piece of furniture with a little bit of detail. But remember, you could do this on a sconce. You can do this on a lamp. This one, I'm going to leave just a little bit more of my verdigris in it. If I wanted a little bit more bronzy, then it looks like that. Isn't that exciting? I hope you get excited over that. Now remember, the other thing is too, you can do all kinds of different colors. I did this one. I painted it with Selznick Gray first, and then I came back with the black pigment powder, doing the same exact thing, putting my wax on, doing the pigment powder. Is that incredible? Then here, this one. I just did it in Bauhaus Buff, and I came back with Capri Sand. It's endless. I mean, you can be doing all these kind of finishes that are not what everybody else is doing. If you want, yes.
Question was, when you were buffing, were you using a wet towel or a dry towel?
Ooh, that's a great question. I was using, so the question is, when I was buffing, was I using a wet towel or dry? It's always dry. If I'm working with milk paint, I'm trying to take it off, I work with more of a wet towel. But on this, with the pigments and the waxes, I'm just buffing it. Yes.
Is the pigment powder the same as a mica powder?
No. A pigment powder is a beautiful, dead flat pigment. It's actual pigment, guys. These come from Provence. It's not a synthetic. It's an organic, natural pigment. And this is what paints have been made with. So it's for thousands of years. And I love it. There's a place, it's called Mr. Zecchi's. He's in Florence, Italy. It's around the Duomo in Florence. If you ever have, I'm telling you, this is a bucket list. Save your dollars, pennies, get to Florence. It will change your world. So, and the Paris Flea Market. If you had to do one, I'm going totally ADD on everybody. I would say go to the Paris Flea Market. But anyway, There's an adorable shop, and his name is Mr. Zeki. And it will give you the chills because when you go in the shop, there are all these big glass jars of pigments like this. Pigments are horribly expensive because of the nature of them, and they're very rare. And when that quarry runs out, there's no more because these are natural quarried pigments. So when you go in Mr. Zeki's shop, it's like an art shop. And so there's just all these pigments in these glass jars all over the walls, and they're all documented back to the Renaissance. And I just get this visual of the assistants for Leonardo da Vinci and all these different famous artists going in there, picking up the pigments for these incredible master artists. Guys, these are documented with the same pigments and the same thing that's sold in Mr. Zeki's shop that you're going to be using in creating finishes like this on your furniture. That's what makes Amy Howard at Home so, so special. And that's part of the reason why I love teaching you, because I want you to be passionate about making and doing finishes that are truly different than everybody else's. It's not just about putting some paint on and being done with it. This is about creating true patina, and people want to buy and admire pieces with gorgeous patinas. So hopefully I didn't get too crazy on you today. Know that creating this verdigris finish, working with pigments and waxes and understanding tack can totally change your finish world. And most of these pigments and micas will only be available on Amy Howard Home, just strictly because of the specialty nature of them. But we're here to love on you with customer service and questions. Or you can ask your hardware store or your boutique retailer that you get them from. Please get these pigments and these mica powders in here because we want to do finishes with them. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. I'll see you at the estate sales. Bye.